All right, guys. So thank you again for coming today. Thank you, guys. Today we're gonna be talking about how to build a restaurant marketing plan that works for 2025. Okay. So first of all, super important, guys. This is gonna take a little while because we're gonna go through a lot of stuff. We're gonna try to get to it fast, meaning 45 minutes. So for the next 45 minutes, please turn off your cell phones. Turn off your social media channels so we can really get the most out of this presentation. Yeah. And then one second. Just trying to see if this thing works. Great. Okay. So anyways, so this is super important. We continue this. Like, why should you listen to me? And why should you pay some attention? I've been doing this for a really long time. Been in the restaurant industry since 2005. Own operated restaurants. It was also part of the large hospitality group in Miami, in South Florida. Actually, we built a hospitality group, and I was the head of marketing there for 8 years. Track record of 98% retention rate with our clients. And of course, they published a book and articles and all that good stuff. Some testimonies from our clients. And okay, so what are we going to be covering today? Today, we're going to be covering first how to evaluate where you stand, identifying where your restaurant is, how you can really find opportunities with the numbers and everything that you evaluate in your data, and then how to set clear goals and objectives for your restaurant so you can develop a good restaurant marketing plan, and then how to structure that plan, and then how to execute. Okay. Cool. Now, question for everyone. What is the hardest part about marketing your restaurant? Let's see if we get some answers here. I'm going to have to kind of scroll to this other part of the screen so I can see your comments, guys, because I've been presenting this. All right. Any comments here? What's hard? Yep. Takes too much time. Yep, correct. It's hard to do everything at the same time. Yep. I get it. And oh man, we're gold. Okay, we're golden here. We got the presentation back up here. All right, so now this is going to be great. Cool. What else? So many options. Yes, Samantha. So many moving parts. Capturing target audience. Sean, I hear you, man. And juggling and wearing multiple hats. Yeah, that's difficult. Okay. So yeah, definitely that's the hard thing about marketing a restaurant. There's a lot of moving parts. There's a lot of things going on, especially if you are also operating, if you're managing the restaurant, that's going to be really hard. So those are a few things. So let me actually show you guys here. Let me just switch here to the slides because now you can see them. So that's me, actually. So I understand your pain. That's me at 28 years old, opening the first restaurant. I was in Miami, and I looked happy there, but I was going through it, man. I was exhausted, and that I had no free time. I was operating, I was, managing, doing everything, and I just had no time for marketing, even though my background is marketing. So I just didn't have the resources, the time, the bandwidth to do this. So I understand what that feels like. So really marketing, guys, and when it comes to putting together a plan, doesn't have to be that hard, okay? And I'm going to try to simplify this whole thing because there's a lot of things that we can do. And, of course, the more resources that you have, if you have a team, if you have an agency or whatever, you can do it in a different way. But I'm going to try to just make it simple so that everybody can implement this at their, restaurant or venue, okay? So first thing, guys, failing, you guys have heard this before, especially in restaurants, failing to plan is planning to fail. And that's absolutely true. Because if we don't have a plan and we're just coming up with ideas on how to market the restaurant or your restaurant on the go, basically, or let's say you're getting close to the holiday season, it's like, oh, we got to put something together, or now we're coming to Valentine's. Oh, let's put together a menu or promotion for Valentine's. Like, if we're not planning ahead, if we don't do this properly, then you're not going to get results. Yeah, because we don't have enough time to promote. You don't know what channels you're going to use, and there's a lot of systems that you have to put in place, to make sure that this actually gets done properly. Okay, because you guys might be sitting on some things that you already have. For example, the customer data. If you have a reservation system, or anything like that that you're not utilizing, right? So it's just about building a plan, making sure that you have everything in place so that you can execute and not go crazy. Okay, so guys, this is a simplistic way of presenting what happens in a marketing plan, okay, or the steps that you need to take, okay? First, understand your restaurant and your audience. Yeah, Samantha, you were talking about there, the audience, or Sean, I think, yeah. Setting clear goals. Okay, we'll talk about those. There's a lot of stuff that you can do with clear, with goals, but we'll just kind of cover the main things, and we're trying to be realistic. Setting a small budget. You don't have to spend a ton in marketing. You know what I mean? It's, of course, as you grow, and if you can, then great, you can spend more, and it's definitely worth it depending on what you're doing, right? But you don't have to start with, oh, I need to have a $5,000 budget just to, to market that. That's not it. Okay. Choose your focus areas. So there's so much in marketing now because we're in this digital age where we have so much available to us, from social media platforms to paid advertising on Google, on social, on TikTok, right? Then we have email, SMS, we have all these different channels. So you don't have to cover absolutely every single base because you're going to go crazy if you don't have the resources. Now, if you do, if you have a team, then by all means, go all out. You need to be on every single channel and execute perfectly and everything in everywhere, right? But you don't have to do this right now, okay? You're going to pick and choose. Define strategies, okay? So that's just going to give you basically the structure to get to your goals, okay? To get to your objectives. The tactics, the strategies, the ideas, everything that you're going to be implementing to get to those end goals, okay? Now, check what's working. Very simple, guys. You just got to check if whatever we're doing in terms of marketing, whatever the strategies that you're implementing are working or not. And then those we see pretty often, right? When we're executing, we see if they're working or not. Try new ideas and repeat what works. Okay, so simple enough, right? Okay, yeah, give me a 1 if it's that sounds simple to you guys. On the chat there. All right, yeah. All right, guys. So now let's move to where you stand. Okay, because this is important. And this is going back to the first thing. Everything's going to tie in from the steps, okay? Because the first thing we talked about is understand your restaurant and your audience, okay? So first thing is understanding where you stand, okay? Understanding your restaurant. So what are we going to do to understand our restaurant or venue, bar, whatever it is that you guys have, okay? So look at your data. Sometimes I know it's a little overwhelming because there's just so much data, especially you put up, you pull a report in the POS, and there's a ton of data there, and you don't even know what to look at first, okay? But there are basic metrics that you guys are already looking at anyways. But when you're planning, and I know you guys are looking at your weekly sales, your daily sales, and every single, you're doing that every day. But when you're planning, you want to pull reports to really look at an overview of what happened the previous year, what's happened up to now, okay? So now you can pull reports to give you this data. So where are we going to start? Okay, comparative analysis, of course, year over year. You want to see if you're up or down, right? So this is just basic stuff, right? But you pull it from way back. I know that Toast kind of sucks because it won't allow you to pull data all the way back, so you kind of have to piece it out. So it doesn't allow you to go back more than 6 months, I believe. Yeah. So then you got to look at your average weekly sales by day part, your guest average, your check average, all these things you already know. But if you're pulling historical, you start seeing patterns. Yeah. You start seeing what's happening during each season, because if you're located in a seasonal place like Miami, then you will have those ups and downs of those variables like in the numbers, right? So you want to look at that. So then again, the whole thing here, guys, is to look at this data to identify patterns and find what's happening once you look at these numbers. So guest count and transaction count, that's more of course, you can look at that stuff as well if you don't have a reservation system, right? So if let's say you're a fast casual restaurant, so you want to look at all these things, at transaction counts or guest count. 3PD sales, of course, you want to see where you're at. Private event sales, catering sales, if you have it. Liquor as a percent of sales, right? If you have food and if you have a liquor license. Off-premise sales versus direct versus 3PD. Third delivery platforms, slowest days of the week, promotions and events performance, comps and discounts, check all of that, okay? So you're gonna go back and you're just gonna make a list. You're gonna write that stuff down in a whatever you wanna write it down. If you, of course, on your computer, it would be best, so have then all your numbers there. Yeah, so once you start getting to the data, you start finding patterns, okay? So you'll start seeing, oh, my slowest day of the week is Tuesday. Maybe you already know that, but if you look at the entire year, that might change. Okay, now you're looking at maybe 2 slow days. You're looking at maybe Wednesday's not so great. Mondays always sucks or whatever. You start finding these things, or you're looking at, okay, man, our 3PD sales is actually like 85% of our sales, but we do have a direct online ordering. That's kind of sucks because we want to drive a little bit more traffic to direct online ordering. Or let's say, your lunch sales are not great, but so like these things that you start finding out, right? And you start seeing, and most of these things you guys already know, okay? But you start uncovering other stuff that you might not know about, or you haven't noticed, because we're busy with operations, we're busy with other stuff, and we're not really analyzing this data properly. If you can have somebody from your team join you, while we're doing this, then that would be even better, because then your team members, if they're involved in this, they'll be able to also to give you some feedback on certain things. Yeah, so just put your thinking caps on and then start sharing information. Of course, this happens at manager meetings, so take notes. And you guys already, you will know some of these things. Okay, now the next part after identifying this stuff is kind of coming up with a solution how to address these things. Okay, but anyways, another really, really useful thing to do before you get started in your actual plan of coming up with the things that you're going to do to set goals and then get all this stuff done. So know who your customer are, yeah, and what they care about. Okay, so what do you do to find this out? Your reviews, right? Because I'm sure you guys are looking at these every single day anyways. But again, if you go back through the year, and if you have, there are certain platforms that help with this. For example, Marquee is a cool platform that we use for review management. It gives you more information, meaning it'll give you some patterns. You can identify patterns in terms of what's the issue with food, if it's an issue with service or whatever it is. And then you start seeing if there's some type of repetitive pattern again in what's going on within your 4 walls. Okay, so direct feedback. This is direct feedback from your guest. If you're there, if you're operating, you will know. If it's your team and you're not there, you're at the office, whatever it is, if you're corporate team or whatever, then you need to get feedback again from different places. You can get them directly from your team when you meet with them and you have your meetings, or you can get these feedback from different platforms that you can use to collect it. I don't know if you guys already have some of these established, then fantastic, like something like Ovation or Tattle, which just gives you guest feedback directly instead of going to the review platforms. Okay, so there you can really look at more data and get the information that you need. And again, we're here to identify patterns. Social media, same thing, comments, whatever's happening there, you got to look at your KPIs, see what's working, what's not. Feedback from your team, like I just said, and guest surveys. If you guys have a database, this is a gold mine, because what you can do is you will develop a simple survey, but with the questions of the things that you want to find out. Because sometimes we make many assumptions about what our guest perception is and what you think they know, and many times we're completely off, we're wrong. Yeah, so for example, if you want to find out if they even know about your promotions, that's one question. Do you know that we have a happy hour? Did you know that we have this and this, that promotion? Okay, so the way that you get people to fill out the survey, because you might be thinking that's like, oh yeah, send them a survey, they won't fill it out. Give them an incentive. Okay, so there's a way to do this. You send them a digital coupon. There's different platforms that you can use for this. One is Coupon Carrier. There's QRD buys, and it's like $20 a month, something like that. And you create this digital coupon, and it creates a simple form. If you guys want those links, we'll send it to you later. But it's just a simple, form survey. They fill out, and then you send them that coupon automatically. And it can be a $5, $10 off, or a free appetite, whatever it is that you want to give them, something that's attractive enough for them to fill out a survey, because some people won't do that. And then you have a double win. You get all the information that you're looking for, and then you get people to come to your restaurant to see you. Yeah, they'll give them a discount, yes, but they give you the information and they're at their restaurant again. Okay, so double win there. Really good stuff. Focus groups. Okay, that's another thing that this is a little bit time consuming, and I know it is a little bit difficult to organize, but if you can do it, if you have really, if you have deep questions that you don't know about, that you're trying to find out and you're making assumptions, then this is a really good idea to do. Give you guys an example. Previously, we had a restaurant in Fort Lauderdale, in Florida, and we were marketing this restaurant, and operations was good. Like, we were just doing everything we thought was right for this restaurant, and we could not maintain the upward sales trend. We would increase sales, sales would increase for some time, and then we would drop again, they would increase again, then it would drop, and it was a pain in the butt. right? So we were trying to find out why in the hell we were very close to Las Olas Boulevard, which we wrongly assumed that it was going to be enough, and because we would, we had an okay rent there, but it wasn't, right? But we couldn't understand why, because it was, really busy sometimes, and then it would just really be empty. So then we conducted a focus group there. We invited 3 nights, different people that have never been there, people that have been there, people that have only been there once, whatever, just a mix of people. And we had a set of questions asking them what their perception was, right? Trying to understand. There was a lot of findings there. Basically, guys, we were next to a UPS store, and we were next to a Subway. So they perceived this as a lunch spot, not as a dinner place. So that's why dinner was slow. They went into details about lighting, sound. They went into talking about the menus, that because they were plastic, they also perceived it as a lunch place, not as a dinner menu place. They talked about a lot of these things that we had some idea, but not really, right? So then once we had all that information, we could address it. And the worst problem was that, of course, we were just not visible. We were off on a side street, and people would not see us, and people would just walk on the boulevard and they wouldn't see the restaurant. So anyways, good thing to do if you have the time and the resources, because it's going to give you great insights about what's going on within your 4 walls and what's going on with your restaurant, right? You can ask about service, you can ask about a bunch of stuff. Okay, so now all of these things that we're talking about here, again, is going to set you up for identifying opportunities. So like I said, identifying patterns. So what's going on? Day parts are slow. You're looking at your liquor sales that are low, or you're not selling much of this or whatever it is. Or you're looking at that your brunch sales, you have a really, your brunch menu actually doesn't have great feedback. People say that it's not great. Whatever it is that you find, those are your opportunities, okay? Because those are the things that you want to focus on. And you say, okay, now this is what the data is telling me. This is what the feedback from guests are telling me. Okay, so now I'm gonna write all this stuff down. Okay, and guys, to structure your marketing plan, just start writing all of these ideas, all these things that we're talking about. Later, at the end, when you have all that info, then you can start putting it together in a cohesive structure if you want to. Okay, but it doesn't have to be complicated. Okay, so we're trying to just simplify things. All right, so let's see, some examples here. You underutilized space. We see this quite a bit. If you have a full service restaurant, you have maybe you don't have event spaces or private dining, but you do have a big space, right? So then you have to section it because it's kind of empty on these days. And so you have underutilized space. Okay, so what does that tell you? There's space there to do private events. So we got to push private. It could be a good idea to push private events. You have to make sure that you have the resources, the menus, whatever it is that you want to do, but that there's an opportunity there. Yeah. Okay, so that's important. Lack of brand awareness, that could happen, that we see quite often. Okay, it's the same thing, the example that I was giving about, let's say, I don't know, they just don't come at certain times of the day, or it's kind of slow down. In Miami, I'll give you guys an example there that's happened. The city has changed a lot. So there's a lot of new people in the city, and that's happening in the big cities or in certain cities. So then you have to build brand awareness again, because all the people that were there before, they're not there anymore. So now there's new people in the area. Okay, so those are the things that you start finding out. Slow Saturdays, catering potential. If you're doing catering and you still see that your sales are not great, and you have a big, space room to grow. So that's something that you want to put there, right, as your opportunities, because those now are going to start translating to your goals or objectives. Okay, one super important thing, guys, just one note here is, don't try to fit a square in a peg round hole. What do I mean by that? Okay, if you need to understand what type of concept you are, and I'm sure you already know, because what happens is sometimes you can get this idea, let's say your happy hour times are slow, but you are not a happy hour restaurant, meaning that your concept is maybe your audience is not the right fit for that. And we have actually a client that they're a fantastic restaurant, have multiple locations, but the crowd that goes there is not a happy hour crowd. So even if you try to push happy hour, you're going to be turning your wheels, and you're going to spend a lot of time and money, and you're not going to get the results that you want. Or let's say you're I don't know, maybe a sushi place, and you're trying to do brunch. That's a stretch. Yeah. So don't focus on doing things that are not going to be aligned with your concept and brand. Okay, that's what I mean by that. Right. So next step is setting clear goals. Okay, simple enough. After everything that you identify there and the opportunities, now we're going to set some goals. Okay. Clear goals, win your sales. You need to understand where you're heading. Okay, and that's for every business. So what is a framework for goal setting? Guys, you can use this framework or you can just keep it more, you can keep it simple. We'll go through two things. So ideally, yes, you want your written goals and plan. You want a 1-year goal, right? Your long-term vision, or where you want to be, quarterly goals and monthly goals. And you have to review these. You have to stop, because sometimes we set these goals, we just go the entire year, and we never stop to look at what the goals we had set for ourselves. Okay. So it's important that we pause, we look at what we had set, and then we see if we're close to it. We like to do that quarterly to see if we're meeting those goals, but also monthly. And we also look at, of course, you have to have systems in place so you can be checking that on a regular basis, or even weekly. Okay. So now decide on a few key objectives. Guys, we can go crazy with goals here, with restaurants. We're not trying to do that, because it's, at the end of the day, this is just, it's a goal. Okay. It gives you an objective, but it's not going to be, it is a moving target. Okay. And it's not always going to be, 100% true, but you're making your best guess or where you're heading. Okay. So that's important. Okay. So annual revenue, again, long-term, where do you see the restaurant, your establishment being at? Okay. If it's an established restaurant or established, venue, you're looking at a small percentage increase, because you're not going to grow as fast as you did when you were, second year or third year of operation. If you've been established for longer, you're looking at, 3-5% growth, and that's pretty good. Yeah, if you're doing 10% growth, that's pretty freaking great. Okay, but if you were, let's say you were negative the previous year, but now it changed, and you guys have changed some stuff in the restaurant, and it's working better. So then you set a more a realistic goal. Let's say it's it's a 15% increase in sales, whatever it is. Okay, so those are the things that you look at. Weekly sales, of course, you guys know your weekly sales every single week. You will be looking at that. So set a goal for that. Monthly transactions, again, this is more for a different type of concept. If you don't, if you're looking at transactions, weekly guest count, private events, percentage growth, or monthly sales target if you're doing private events. And there's a bunch of other metrics you can look at, but these are the, usually the main ones that you want to see. Then there's other objectives that you can set for yourself. That you're, let's say that you are, that you need to launch a new happy hour menu. So those are the objectives that you set for yourself. You don't have to make it so complicated and get so much into the data. Just keep it simple. Yeah. Increase your customer database. We'll talk about that in a second, but it's super, super important. And then, increase retention. Yes, we can get into the numbers of looking at what your retention rate is of your guests if you have the systems in place to do that. But again, in this training, we're not going to get into that, because I think it's just getting too technical, and we're not want to get into that right now. Okay. And to get into the numbers. But anyways, it is important. If you can get that data, then that would be fantastic for sure. Okay, let me just give you a couple of examples. So revenue goal, increase monthly revenue by 15% within the next 3 months. That's pretty aggressive, depending on your concept. But let's say, that's just an example. Customer acquisition, attract 300 customers by the end of Q2. Okay, if you have, again, this is possible if you have the systems in place. We'll talk about that in a second, because that's going to be built in the marketing plan, so we can know if you're getting guests into the door. Okay, grow your social presence and grow your Instagram followers by 25%. An event goal, let's say book 20 private events by the end of Q4, or by the end of the year, whatever it is that makes sense for your restaurant. Okay, retention goal, increase repeat customer visits by 20%. Again, this is if you have that data. These are just some example, guys. You will set these goals for yourself and for your restaurant, depending on your concept, again, and who you are. Okay. Here, here's just a guest count or transaction target planner. Super simple, guys. So let's say your revenue target is 2 million, right? And so what is your, for the year? So what is your monthly revenue target going to be? What is your guest count, your guest average? And that's how you're going to figure out how many covers, how many guests you need, and your guest count or covers target, or your daily guest count target. Okay, so this is just to give you an idea. Okay, how many people do I need to get in the door daily so I can reach those goals? Okay, this is actually, there's a link to that one. I can send it to you guys. It's formulated, so if you want to use that to calculate your your targets, then cool, I'll send it to you guys. Then we're going to go into your budget planner. Okay, because once you have this information and your goals, you're going to define a budget. Okay, so there's a lot of different things that you need to do for this. Okay, but 1 second, guys. But you don't, as I mentioned before, you don't have to start with a really large budget. Small budget can work. Okay, so whatever you have to work with. Normally, restaurants, if you're structured, you should have definitely a percentage that you take from gross sales, and you assign that to marketing. Usually, for restaurants, it can be anywhere between 1% and 3%. Okay, if it's higher than that, man, you're making good money. Awesome. If you want to invest more on that, then it's possible. Again, it's going to depend on your concept of how much you're going to spend, but at least allocate that certain percentage for the year, and then you can distribute that, in all your marketing. Okay, I can send you guys this planner as well. It's a simple, it's a spreadsheet where you can see, and you can set this budget by channel and all these things that we're going to be planning. Okay, so anyways, right now you're just trying to figure out the overall number, and then you're going to start distributing according to your plan. Okay. All right. So that's a little bit of content there. We're going to continue, but anybody has any questions, comments right now that I can help answer? Anything that you noticed, or any comments that you guys have? Okay. Let me see. All right. No questions yet. All right, guys, we're going to continue. All right. Now we're going to get into the meat of things. Okay. Yes. Can you share the budget template? Yes, I'll share it with you guys after the call. I'll send it to you guys so you can use it. If you have any questions, just email me. All right. So define your strategies. How much should I be spending monthly? Okay. So like I said, right now, Roberto, we're just going to get into the, we're going to look at the between 1% and 3%. You define that depending on your restaurant and your budget, or what you have. And that's the big number that you're going to have there. Yeah. Then we're going to talk about how, distributing that. Okay. And it's going to be there on your budget planner on where you can distribute it, but it's going to depend on, and again, on your goals and your objectives and how much you're going to allocate to each resource, okay, or to each channel or whatever you're going to be doing. Okay. So now, strategies. Don't forget about your brand, guys. This is super important and it gets overlooked a lot, okay? Because we're only looking at these things we talked about. Yes, I need to increase my lunch business. I need to increase my, or my dinner sales or my private events, whatever it is that you're trying to, of course, get going and improve. And the brand gets kind of, we forget about it. But remember, building a brand is essential for a business and especially for restaurants. Okay. And let me give you one example here. So it says clearly define your USP. USP, for you guys, if you don't know, is unique selling proposition. Basically, what it means is what makes your restaurant special, what is so different and unique that will bring people in. Okay, so basically, in a nutshell, that's what it means. So let me give you an example here. So Chipotle, of course, everybody knows this brand, but it's all about food with integrity. So then you'll come up with a phrase that defines your USP. And these guys are food with integrity. Okay, key points: fresh ingredients, ethical practices, customizable meals, right? Built for all diets, brand transparency. Yeah, so those are the key points of their USP. And why does it work? Because it's clear, because it's value driven, and it appeals to health conscious ethical diners. Okay, so that's one example of USP. Why is this important? Because everything here is going to drive how you do your marketing. Because when you're doing your marketing, your USP needs to be very clear. Yeah, because that's what's going to set you apart, and that's what's going to get people to choose you over 1,000 other restaurants or whatever it depends, or whatever competitors you have around you. Okay. So, and also over time, once you invest in this and building your brand and focusing on this and being consistent, you're going to be, again, building a brand, meaning the value of your establishment is going to go up as well. If you, at some point, you wanted to sell the business, if you build a brand, it's going to be worth way more than if you just build an operation, right? Which both things need to be built. Okay. So hope that is clear. So again, how do you define it? Here are some questions you can ask yourself. Okay. What is the product or experience that sets you apart from everyone else? Is it buzzworthy? How will you deliver this product or experience? Presentation, service, experience, ambience. What is it? And then yearning. Does your product or leave our guests yearning for more? Keep them coming back? Yeah. So those are the questions that you start asking yourself to come up with your USP. Now, guys, there are tools like ChatGPT or whatever. You guys come up with some ideas for your USP. Yeah. And some of these things that will set your restaurant apart. And then what you're going to do is just go to ChatGPT and say, hey, help me create a USP from all of these, different ideas. that sets my restaurant apart, and it'll kind of craft a cool message for you and give you some cool things. Okay, so that will help you make this easier. All right, next is your four walls experience. Okay, don't overlook this either. Super important. Everything, again, it needs to be cohesive, and your USP, your unique selling proposition, it's going to be everywhere. Okay, it needs to be for sure your four walls experience. Okay, so some examples here. You guys might recognize that this picture here, that's the picture of Sweet Greens. Yeah, and they're all about the organic and fresh and healthy stuff. Yeah, so look at their four walls. You go in there and you see that the fresh produce there in front of you. Okay, that other example that I'm giving you here at the top, that's one of our client restaurants, and they're just how can you build on their experience of more refined Cuban restaurants. And something cool about the Cuban restaurants and where some Cuban places is that they that old coffee thing that where they serve the coffee, where you can make the coffee. So bought those little things, and it just builds on the experience, and it builds on your concept. Yes, for example, these other guys, they actually that's how they present their takeout for sushi. So it's just cool, right? And it ties into the brand, and then just you will definitely remember them if you get this to your door. Yeah. Okay. There's some examples of those things that you can do in your four wall. So make sure that everything ties in from your brand, what you're about, your unique selling proposition, and what you're experiencing within your establishment. Okay. Cool. Now, next is promotions and events. Guys, remember that promotions, they have a bad rep because many times we're thinking of promotions as discounts. Promotions don't necessarily mean that you're going to be discounted. Yes, and sometimes you do, sometimes you don't. You can build value. You can build promotions based on value, and you're going to increase your check average. It's just how you build those. So first, you need to, based on your initial assessment, when we're looking at these opportunities that we talked about at the beginning, let's say you have a slower day part or a slow day. So what can you do to make that day, to bring more traffic for that day? Okay. Let me give you an example here. So these guys there, you see the Shucking Good Mondays, image here. So those guys were having an issue with having a very slow Monday. Also, I mean, they have location issues. I mean, they had other stuff going on. But what happened there was, okay, so how can we let's come up with something that's attractive enough, to try to bring some people on Mondays. Okay, so in this case, yes, in this case there was a discount, but it also, we're doing that with the $2 oysters, and then the half dozen oysters plus an add-on there, they would sell it for $19. But the food cost will still work, and it was fine. You're discounting the oysters, but the other half dozen with the other product, not so much. So your margins work well. Okay. So another example is Noche Cubana. That's another promotion that we did for one of our clients. So those guys were experiencing slow Saturday nights at one of their locations. So basically the idea was to come up with a set menu, an experience basically. So basically we set up a setup with a pig roast with different sides and everything, and it would just be for I think it's for $50. You would get all these things, right? So again, low food cost, high value perception. Yep. And then we were creating an experience. They were creating an experience at the restaurant. Yeah. So we pushed this out and it worked great. Yeah. So you can see here, just to give you an idea, this is the first time that because we tested it, a few times, a few Saturdays. As you guys can see here, once we tested that, there was a 31% increase in sales for that Saturday compared to a non-promotional day. Okay. In terms of reservations, they had a 30% increase. So these things work. Okay. And not only did they increase sales for that day, for those Saturdays, then we basically rolled that out in other restaurants that also needed those additional sales on Saturdays. Yeah. So we rolled it out in other locations, and then we kind of adapted that to also a lunch promo type of thing for a different location that, of course, dinner wouldn't make sense, but for lunch would. And so we tested that, and also, brought some good results in one of our locations. So anyways, again, you're not always discounting, you're adding value by providing an experience. So always think of that stuff when you're thinking about promotions. Now, the next thing is, okay, let's think about events. Okay, why are events important? Because for one thing, they build a lot of brand awareness. Okay, because when it's people say, sometimes our clients are like, oh, okay, but we're doing these one-off things. I want to see consistent increase in sales on a weekly basis. And that was one comment from one of our clients. My response was, guys, this is a way to build brand awareness, which you lack of. If you do this on a consistent basis, you're going to get a lot of people looking at your brand, a lot of people coming to your restaurant. If they've never experienced it before, they come for this event. Now they know you. Now they experience your restaurant. And now you have, if you do it right, you're going to get their data, and now you can bring them back. Okay. So that is, some of the basic reason, or the main reasons why doing events are very important. When I mean events, I mean doing something like, well, I'll show you an example in a second. For another restaurant client, we built this, this event for Noche Argentina, which is like Argentine night, basically. So they created this party where they have once a month, and so it's focused on creating an experience. A live band. They have some drink offers, things like that. It's basically a really cool and fun party, and people are showing up every single month, right? So we're actually selling out that event. We do an Eventbrite. We use that for that. So we've sold out that event, I think, about 4 times consistently, for that venue. So again, that's built a brand awareness, loyalty. We get a database, and we get people through the door. Yeah. So that has an impact in the long term, because now everything else that we're doing in terms of marketing, we're talking to the people that came to that event. Okay. So that's why it's important to have this as part of your plan. Okay. Again, what you have to look at what makes sense for your restaurant, right? Or for your establishment, because it's not going to be always, these things that I'm presenting here. This is for, these concepts. It might not work for your restaurant. You have to understand, what makes sense. So for example, in New York, they had another client that has a restaurant close to the Radio Music Hall. So, we had the pre-theater dinner type of thing going on. Yeah. And again, there's no discount there. It's just, it's a special menu. Okay. That we're presenting to people, and then we're going to talk about how to communicate this, because you can come up with these ideas, but then we got to look at the channels or how we're going to reach people to get, to come, once you build these out. Okay. Now you get your special dates and holidays. By all means, guys, leverage the hell out of those. So you have your Valentine's, Mother's Day, Father's Day, like all of those. It needs to make sense for your concept. Again, you're not going to do, I don't know, Mother's Day at a bar. This might be a little weird. But there's other things that definitely work out. Okay, so even if you make them up, okay. So for example, let me think of an example. Okay, yeah. So one we did for a client in Boston, we did Dia de los Muertos, right? Like the Day of the Dead. So that was even after Halloween, like in November, but it made sense for their concept, because they're a Mexican concept, of course. And we did this whole thing around that. Or like you can come up with something, for example, like Tequila Day, and we did a whole event for Tequila Day, even though it might sound pointless, but there was over 300 people in that restaurant. Yep. So that means again, the same thing, brand awareness, yeah, data, all that's good stuff. Yeah. So again, look at what makes sense for your concept. Come up with a bunch of ideas. If you have, look at it with your team, and so you guys can bounce off ideas and see what makes sense. Okay. Always think about adding value, discounts. I kind of try to stay away from those a little bit, but if it might make sense for certain things or in certain days. Okay, so you will be able to make those decisions. Okay. All right, so that was that example. Okay, now we come up with the objectives. We come up with the ways that we're going to bring people in the door. And again, guys, here I just gave you some examples of promotion events. Then the next step is also your always on ads, your always on campaigns. What does that mean? This is going to be campaigns that are going to be helping you to bring consistent traffic for certain day parts or for certain revenue centers. It just depends what you identify there in your goals, right? In your patterns and your goals. So for, let's say, you're trying to constantly push private events. So you want a strategy, right? And a tactic that's going to build private events over the entire year, not just for a specific time or day or whatever it is. Yeah. Or let's say you're trying to, also get more reservations. Then you're going to have a strategy to consistently bring more reservations. Online orders, you want to also have something for that as well. That I would advise to split it. Don't do it all the time if you're running ads or if you're doing something particularly for online orders. I would spread it out in 3 times a year during certain seasons. because there, what you want to do is, one idea is, yes, there you can do a discount code, whatever. You have an online ordering system that you can only do as a limited time offer, yeah, or you include a free menu item or whatever. But a limited time offer will create this peak of sales. It will help you bring more sales for, let's say we're talking about direct online orders, and then you stop it, right? So then you don't get people so used to like getting that discount or that freebie all the time. But it will train people to use your online ordering, that now they know they can go to your site and order, and it's very easy. They don't have to always go to Uber Eats. And also, of course, Uber Eats now, it's more expensive, right, in many ways for your restaurant and also for the customer. I know convenience trumps everything. That's why people keep using that. But anyways, that's just another idea. So have always your always on stuff that you need to have in addition to your promotion and events. But basically, also the idea behind the promotion and event is that you always have something going on every single month. There's always something going on, something to talk about. Yeah. If you don't have something to talk about, it's like, what are you going to talk about? How are you going to bring people in? Of course, if your restaurant is fantastic and people love it, they're still going to come, right? But if you give them other reasons, they're going to come more, and you're going to bring new people to the restaurant. Okay. All right. So now let's get into the channels. This is how you communicate all the stuff that you're creating, you're putting in your plan, all your ideas for promotions, events, all these stuff we're talking about. So if you look at this chart here, there's a lot of moving parts. And that's what we're talking at the beginning. What's hard about marketing? All of this crap. Because you got to deal with, okay, I got to do email, I got to do SMS, I got to do the organic content. I gotta do SEO, or I gotta do, all this all this stuff, man, or influencers, like all of these things. Okay. So guys, that's what I was saying. These are all the channels that you want to be in, but don't think that you have to be in all of them at once if you don't have, the team or the resources to do it. You can pick and choose which ones are the most effective and for your restaurant, for your establishment, and stick to those. Okay. My take on this, guys, stay with organic content, keep it. Okay. If you have somebody to do that, for sure, you need to have that in your social channels, right? Don't go crazy with content, because it can get really expensive if you don't have the resources. Or if you can do it well yourself, then go ahead. It's fine. Now of course, if you're operating, it's hard, so try to get somebody to do it for you. Yeah. But then I would stick with paid ads, and I'll show you why, and I'll tell you which ads, and then email. Okay. A lot of people sometimes ask, hey, isn't email kind of dead now? Like, it's I don't know, is it working? And the truth is, it works really, really well. And I'll show you an example in a second. Okay. It's going to depend on your restaurant as well. But email works wonders, and it's still a very, very useful means of communication and everything that you're doing. So even if you just keep those 3 channels, that's enough for you to get some good results. Okay. Then of course your website, and there's other stuff that you need to be at, but those things, are the essential ones for your website. Have all the stuff that you're going to be doing. Have it on your website, please. Yes, very important. All right. So like I said, pick your channels. These are my recommendations. Your website, you need to have it. Of course, social media, have your organic content. Yeah, you can go into TikTok. It's cool, whatever. But like, to keep it up and do it properly, it needs resources. Okay. So not everybody's able to do it the right way, and it can be hard. Email marketing, again, say super easy, and you're staying connected with all the people that are already coming, they're reserving. Or if you did an event and you have their data, again, email is crucial. Okay. Your Google listing, this is something that also needs to be there, because guys, people are finding you in Google. So make sure when you're doing an event or something, you put it there in a post so people can see it. Okay. There is a few people that see it. It's not a huge reach, but anybody that's looking at your profile will see it. Okay. Paid social ads. I like Google as well for certain things, and then we'll talk about it in a second. But paid social ads, I would definitely keep. Okay. You just got to learn how to do it properly. If not, never. One piece of advice, guys, when you see Facebook or your Instagram account that says boost now or boost post, never freaking do it. Okay. Because that's just going to go everywhere. The targeting with that, meaning who is going to show, where it's going to go, to what audience, is going to show it to just basically your targeting is very limited. So it's just going to show it to a bunch of people that might not even be a good fit for your restaurant. They're not even interested in you. Okay. So never boost a post. If you're going to be doing Facebook ads, you need to be doing them from your Facebook ads manager that comes from your Facebook business manager. Okay. So you create an ad account there. If you guys want some help with that, I did a whole training on how to use Facebook ads for restaurants. And so I can send you guys the link to check that out if you wanted to do it yourself. Okay, cool. Now, next thing is, first thing is we just look at it here is your website. Okay, guys, I know that everybody's kind of, they're like, oh, I just want a simple website, and you go with Bento or whatever. That's fine. You can use any of those platforms. It's cool. You can have a website there, but just make sure that it has the information that you need to have. Okay, what is the basic information that you need to have? Of course, have a nice design, guys. Again, we talked about the USP, that it communicates your USP. Okay, it needs to showcase what your restaurant is about and communicate this properly, so then and so that it is on brand, and when people see it, they're attracted to it. Okay, invest in it. Don't try to save on that. And I've seen a lot of shitty websites and of like bad branding, and I think it's a big mistake. I know when people are starting, I was like, I don't care. People were gonna come because my restaurant's great and my food's awesome and whatever. But man, over and over again, I see that that mistake. Okay, so it doesn't have to be a huge amount of money. You can invest a little bit on it, but just make sure that everything looks nice and you have the information there. Easy navigation, of course. Have all the information that people are looking for. Okay, what are people looking for in a website? They're looking at your address. Where are you at? They want to look at your menu. Yeah, and if they want to make a reservation, let's say if you take reservations. If not, they're looking at, for sure, your location, and they're looking at just how they're looking at what your space looks like, what your restaurant looks like. These things are the main things that you want to have there. Okay. Of course, if you have other services, let's say like private dining, private events, for sure you want to feature that there. If you have catering, for sure you want to feature that there, because those are high ticket items that people need to have all the information so they can, look at it and hopefully they can book an event, inquire for an event, or they can book it, get a catering order, whatever it is. So those things need to be there. Okay, your online ordering as well, if you have online ordering. So all of those things need to be there. Clear CTAs. CTAs means call to action, so they need to have clear buttons on how to take action on what you want them to do, right? Okay, so sometimes I see those websites that have just tiny buttons at the header, and they just there's no differentiation with any of the buttons on the top, and you don't even know which one is reservations, which one is online ordering, so you don't see anything. So it's not really optimized for selling or for conversions in the digital marketing language. Anyways, make sure that it has a tracking. Okay, so you have, for example, Open Table, if you're offering reservations there, or Talk, whatever it is, guys, there's tracking links that you can create in the system, so you know that every reservation that came through your website, you know where it came from. Okay, we'll talk about ads and all that stuff later, because you can build tracking links for that, but important to have that. Your Google Analytics, have it set up. If you guys don't know how to do it, get a guy on Upwork or whatever, a freelancer that can set that up for you. Again, it's important because then you will know traffic and all those things that you want to find out about your website. I said reserve phone calls. You can also track calls. There's tools like CallRail, so you can insert that into your website, so then you will know how many calls actually came from your website, and you can actually record those calls. So then you can listen to customer service when somebody's answering at the restaurant, your hostess, or whoever it is that's answering the phone, and see how they're treating your guests. Okay, if we've actually found some really interesting stuff along the years working with different, with our clients or in our own restaurants as well. When we were listening to the calls, we were selling, let's say, a Valentine's Day dinner, and they would call us like, I'm trying to find out about your Valentine's dinner, and the host is like, what? And they wouldn't even know about, what they were, that promotion they were having for Valentine's. So that was very eye-opening. So for sure, they needed to do a lot of training, with the hostesses, so they would understand, they would know what they needed to explain, okay, for that particular promotion, whatever. Anyways, important to have. Just to give you a quick example, is one website, because sometimes like everybody just goes directly to the reservation platforms or to Google or whatever to make reservations. Not really. They do go to your website. I mean, this is a quick example, guys, for online, for reservations. These guys had 66% of their reservations going through their site. Okay, so, and that's it's crazy. People will go to your website, okay, and we see higher numbers with other concepts. So yeah, don't think that websites aren't important. They are super important. Okay, it's not like I just have an Instagram page, that's okay. No, build a website. Okay, invest in it. All right. Now, a lot of these channels, guys, are going to be useless. For example, email, if you don't have a database, and then your ads are going to get even better if you have a database. Okay, so I can't, reiterate this enough. Build invest in building a customer database. If you already have a reservation system, great, you're ahead of the game. You have something. If you have a POS system that takes rewards, let's say like Toast rewards, and the people are signing up and you're collecting data there, fantastic. But make sure that you try to cover all these channels. The more data you guys have, the better off you will be. Okay, so anything that you do with marketing, if you have a big database, it's going to make your life so much easier. Your marketing is going to be way more effective, and it's going to be a lot cheaper. Okay, let me show you what I mean by that. Okay, in a second after this slide. But so how can you collect data? Hostess training, get the hostess to ask them for the data. I know it's annoying. People might not like it, but just they can do it in an indirect way. Believe me, guys, investing in this is huge. Okay, it's worth gold. Okay, if you have a rewards program, then you're collecting a bunch of data there. If you have online orders, you're collecting data there. If you have a Wi-Fi system in your restaurant or establishment, people need to like sign up to use your your Wi-Fi, then do that as well. Newsletter sign up on your website, reservation system, direct online orders. We already talked about our quarterly giveaways. So if you do a giveaway and you use an influencer to help you do a giveaway, then you can have people opt in to fill out a form to participate, give something big. So there's a ton of participation. You're building your database. Those events we talked about using Eventbrite. Again, that's building your database. So, we had our restaurants, we had a list of about 150,000 people that we built over a lot of years. But every time we would do a promotion or an event or anything that we would do, we would get in front of a ton of people. Yeah. So all those promotions or things that we would be doing were very successful. Okay. In addition to that, guys, the database, what it does is this is giving you information of already customers that have been to your restaurant. So you can also upload that stuff on your Facebook ad account. Yeah, for your Facebook ads manager. Don't confuse it with the other stuff. And you can create a custom audience, meaning that you're going to be able to create reach not only those people in that database, of course, if they match that to a Facebook profile, but then you create a lookalike audience based on that database, right? That database, that set of people. So it's going to find people that are very similar to the ones that are in your database, and you're going to be able to target those. That's why many times you were talking about audiences. You can't reach an audience if you don't have that, okay? Because the targeting that you do, if you don't do it properly, you're going to get in front of the wrong people, okay? So by doing this, you're going to get in front of the right people, and you can add layers of targeting. I'm not going to get into those technical things. If you guys have questions about that, I'll tell you later. But that's how you do it. That's why it's so valuable. Okay, so that's why your marketing becomes more effective and cheaper. Okay, power of the database. Let me just show you a quick example here. I know you guys can see the numbers. I got to kind of squint even if I have my glasses. But these guys, we did this promotion for National Mojito Day. Basically, we just sent out a digital coupon, digital code, digital link. Basically, the people that would fill out this form, they could redeem a free mojito for that day on these restaurants. Okay, so no other stuff, right? If you didn't bring this, you could not get the free mojito. It wasn't a free for all. If you didn't have this digital coupon, you could not get it. Okay, so we sent it. So we ran a campaign for this. As you can see here, Facebook leads. There was 100 registrations. Linktree, that's your organic stuff. And then check it out. Look at the email. There is, of course, they had a good database. 1,778 right coupons requested or that they got, right? So of course, it's the people that already know you. You have a huge database. So what did you think? What do you think happened? As you can see here on the bottom, there was a 31% increase in total in sales for all their restaurant locations. Okay, in total, that's the average in total. Yeah. So good results, I would say so. Okay, so that's why I'm so adamant about customer data. Okay, cool. Now next, content strategy. If you're doing social, okay, you don't have to go crazy with your super professional photos that are going to cost you $1,500 every single shoot. That's cool for websites or for other stuff, but not for your content. Okay, and going back to what we're talking about at the beginning, the USP, why it's so important is because, again, you're going to be defining what sets you apart, what sets your restaurant apart, and that's where you're going to be building your content strategy on. Okay, because you need to understand what makes you different. So then you're going to be creating content based on that stuff. You guys seen this video? Okay, so this video, it was a TikTok one. I'm not sure if it's the exact one because they built a bunch of these, but this is for Chili's. They had this mozzarella sticks that they came out with, and they did these TikTok videos, which is showcasing this this gooiness of the cheese. And these girls, these influencers, did this this video, and their sales went up by 40%. That is insane. Okay, with this one single TikTok video. Okay, that's not a common scenario at all, right? And of course, well, what I'm trying to say here is it doesn't have to be super fancy or crazy content. It just needs to highlight what makes you unique, what makes you great. Okay, maybe something in one particular dish or in a particular experience that sets you apart that you're going to be creating content for. Okay, and then for sure leverage influencers, leverage people that can help you to create this so you can get of course good results. Now, authenticity, you need to be authentic. Okay, you can't put out stuff there that's not not really in line with your brand and who you are, and we see this sometimes. So make sure that it is authentic. Define your pillars, content pillars. Okay, so going back again to the USP, what are you about? Okay, so your content pillars is going to give you some structure on the type of content that you're going to be putting out there. Okay, if it's going to be based on your food, you're going to be about environment, experience, or some unique things about your restaurant. Okay, consistency, super important, guys. Just you need to be consistent when you're posting. If you're only posting once every, I don't know, twice a week or whatever, it's not really going to help you much. Okay, you need to be consistent in your posting. Hopefully you have somebody to help you with that, because I know if you're if you're managing or you're operating, it's going to be very difficult to do that. But there's tools out there that you can help you plan. For example, Sprout Social, or there's a Metricool, that's another platform that's cheaper also. So you can actually get all the content, put it in the calendar there on this platform, and you can schedule everything out for the entire month. Okay, so you don't have to worry about it. Everything's going to go out. So you don't need to be like going in there and posting all the time. Okay, yeah, it's cool if you do stories in the moment, or if you do live videos and stuff like that. That's awesome, because your reach and engagement is going to go up. So if you can do that, then do it. If you're hosting an awesome party at your place and it's worth to, and for sure, take out your phone and do a live there of like what's going on in your party, and push that out. Okay, so again, it just depends on the concept. That's what you're going to be doing. Okay, now, so some KPIs, guys. Again, don't go nuts on this. Don't even don't mind this too much. Okay, you just need to look at your metrics that they're in the positive in terms of your engagement, meaning like, okay, what do you want to see really? Saves and shares, comments, like all this stuff, right? Likes, don't worry about that so much. I look at saved shares. Yeah, and then of course, look at your comments, right? And the reply, because people, if are taking the time to talk to you, these are people on the other side. These are not just little robots like commenting. Yeah, so make sure that you are responding to them, to these comments, and that you're looking at some of these metrics. Okay, once you start looking at this, you're going to see, okay, oh, actually this video did really well, or this type of content is doing good. So then you can create more of that. Okay, so this is just to get you an idea of what's working, so then you can repeat it. Okay, that's what it's all about. Don't worry about the technicalities or like I don't understand this, it's too much data. And yes, they give you a ton of data, so it's kind of annoying. But focus on the ones that matter. Okay. Now your Google listing, like I said, definitely have it, optimize it, have all the information there, have the photos that you need, about your location, showcase your location. Sometimes I see restaurants, they have like 4 pictures, and then they have a bunch of pictures from the customers, and they're really crappy pictures. So get the good ones, put this out there, because when people see you, they can, and select, you can actually on Google, on your listing, you can select what photos to show first. So then you can showcase, put your best foot forward to me. Okay. All right. So paid ads. I know this is a whole thing. There's a whole training on this that I did, but just something to keep and you need to have in your marketing plan, because all the organic stuff is cool and word of mouth is great. And if you're delivering a great experience, you're obviously going to get some of that. And then your email marketing is also, good stuff. But guys, paid ads, why is it important? Because there's basically unlimited scalability. You can get in front of a lot of people really quickly. Okay. Now, the most important part here, guys, is again, getting in front of the right people. That's why I was talking about building your database so you can build your audiences, and then you're going to do detailed targeting and add layers of targeting. Yeah. If you guys have questions of more of how to do this, the paid ads part, there's a whole training. I'll send it to you guys if you're interested, but this needs to be part of your strategy. Okay. You can get into search as well, meaning Google. Okay. It can be very beneficial for certain concepts, but if you don't have the budget or if the bandwidth to do this, I would just say focus on social ads. Okay. Because this is just getting in front of people. Google search is for people that are actually searching for something, which is powerful, right? Let's say they're looking for a sushi place near me, and then you can come up there. Yeah, if somebody's looking for that, or lunch places near me, whatever it is, or brunch spots. So it's definitely worth it's worth the investment, but it can get pricey. Okay, so I would kind of pick and choose what you want to do if you don't have the budget. If you do have the budget, by all means, do something like this. Okay, so establish your objectives. What are you trying to do? Go back to your initial assessments. If it's brand awareness, so you're going to run ads for brand awareness. Okay, what are you going to do? Showcase a bunch of different content, videos, and pictures and cool stuff that with a good structure of hook story offer. That's the structure for an ad. Meaning you got to present something interesting with a hook, then to create a story about what's happening, and then create some type of offer, just CTA, to get people to take some action. Okay, so that's the stuff that you want to do for brand awareness, same for traffic, and then and that's how you build this. Okay, so then you're define your channels. We're going to social media searching. Okay, like I said, don't go crazy on this. I would, if you have the budget, you can do both. If you want more specific instructions than that, please reach out later. I can give you more specific instructions, but just make sure that this is part of your plan, because all of this stuff that we're coming up with, the private event, the events, the promotions, this is a way you're going to get in front of a lot of more people to be able to come to those events, to find out about your promotions, to find out about all this cool stuff that you're doing. Okay, just again, make sure that your audience is right, so you reach the right people for the right promotion, event, or whatever it is that you're doing. Okay, if it's, last example I give, if it's brunch that you're pushing, then you need to build an audience that is interested in brunch. You can still be built on your lookalike audiences, but then you can build additional interest on Facebook, which you can add to that for people that are interested in brunch in particular. Right now, if you have people that have come to your restaurant for brunch and you're retargeting them, then fantastic. That's even better. Okay, if you're doing something specific for brunch. Okay, so again, important things to consider. Now, track your efforts. Don't get overwhelmed. There's a big list there, but try to, we need to be tracking. So when we're doing paid ads, if we're trying to drive reservations, you can create tracking links on OpenTable that will allow you to know if those reservations that came through your ads came from OpenTable. Guys, restaurants, it's never a straight path. So don't let anybody tell you otherwise. It's like, I need to see the ROI. And that's stuff that all marketers deal with. But listen, some things you will see a clear ROI, like the ones that I just showed you for that promotion. Some other stuff, guys, it's more, it takes time. Yeah. And sometimes it isn't an indirect path, because even if you're running ads, you have the tracking links, let's say you're doing something for Valentine's Day and a menu, and you have a landing page and they can make the reservation there and everything. A lot of people see these ads and they see these things, and they might not make a reservation right then and there, because this is not e-commerce. You're not buying a pair of jeans. This is like, oh, this looks cool, I might go. You know what I mean? You're not going to make the reservation right then and there. That's food. Okay, this is different. So you gotta, when you're looking at reports, when you're looking at this stuff, yeah, I mean, look at the reservations, see how many came in through your ads or whatever, but also you need to look at the big picture and kind of look at your overall sales and see if there's a change there. So that'll tell you more information, and then give it time, because all marketing takes time. Okay, but these are just some examples of the things that you can set up. Your Google Analytics, like I said, your tag manager, and let's not get into that, it's a little complicated. Make sure that, of course, you have a tracking pixel on your site, so you can track all activity from Facebook. If you have of course a lead form or whatever it is for your private events, you have to set all that stuff up so you can track conversions, right? But all of these things that we have here. Okay, but again, don't go crazy on that. It's important, and again, but don't get overwhelmed, because it can be overwhelming. I understand that. All right, so next is your paid ad strategy. Okay, we were talking about what you need to have. This is a typical, let's say say paid ad strategy, that you can use. Okay, so for your always on, meaning like the stuff that needs to be always on, the stuff that's always running, your brand awareness stuff that we talked about, right? Have one for traffic, meaning traffic means just it's going to be a different objective in Facebook or Meta, I would say, that is going to generate more clicks, or bringing more traffic to whatever landing page you're sending. Okay, so if it's going to be for brand awareness, we normally do both, right? And we kind of break it down by audiences, and you break it down by depending on what you're trying to communicate. Okay, private events, same thing. If you're doing lead generation, that's also important to have weekly specials or repeating promotions that you have running also, and that's especially retargeting, because people that already know you are going to be way more prone to go to your restaurant or establishment for a promotion than people that don't know about you. Okay, all right. So you have that. Then you're always on for Google. People just find the keywords that people are searching for depending on your concept. If it's sushi, you can cover all those keywords, and then sushi near me, sushi Miami, sushi whatever, so then people will find you. So the same thing for every other group of keywords that makes sense for your concept. Okay, best nightclub, whatever it is. Okay. So anyways, I'm not going to get into the details of how to do this because it's a whole different training. Okay, but this is important to have in your plan because this is how you're going to be communicating everything that you've been creating so far. Okay, this is one very important channel that gets in front of a lot of people. Okay, if you do it properly, it works. If you don't do it right, you're going to waste a lot of money. Okay, there's something important to keep in mind. Email, we just talked about this. Huge database, keep on building it. Fantastic. Email marketing is going to be very, very effective. Okay, you're getting in front of a lot of people. Okay, so use that, include that. Here's some best practices in terms of what you can do with email. Again, I'm not going to get into details of all this stuff. Just know that it needs to be within your channels, from your marketing plan when you're executing all these promotions. SMS, if you are an establishment that is a good fit for this, okay, so maybe a fine dining restaurant would be weird to get a text message from them. But if you are a fast casual or a relaxed place, SMS is actually very, very effective. Okay. Of course, the open rates people they will see this, and it works really, really well. We've tested it many, many times before, and for particular promotions or for particular things, it works well. So it's another channel. Remember, this is just a channel. All of these things we're talking about channels that need to be part of your marketing plan and how you're going to be communicating all the other stuff that you just came up with. Okay. Partnerships and community strategy needs to be part of it. So influencers, I know I used to hate them. They're so annoying going into the restaurant and getting just freeloaders and stuff. Now I like them just because I honestly there are some really good ones that can help with building your brand awareness. And if it's a good collaboration, it can be very beneficial. Just make sure that it's the right partnership, that it's a right fit for your restaurant, and look at a few things. Check out their engagement rate. You can use, there's a platform called Flanks where you can vet them and look at their engagement rate. And if it's between 2 and 4, it's okay, because if it's below that, then it's not a good mix. Yeah, it's not a good fit. And also make sure that, again, what they talk about and who they are matches your concept, so it makes sense. Okay, and you can create referral links. You can create some forms of tracking here, but again, I'm not going to get into too much of those details because that would be a different training. It's going to take too long. Anyways, reputation management, super important part of your marketing plan. Guys, it's not just responding to the bad reviews. You need to respond to the good ones as well, because people that are taking the time to do that, you need to really be responding to them. Very important here, guys. This is for SEO purposes. SEO means search engine optimization, meaning that people will be able to find you easier online when you have a lot of different keywords that are associated with your restaurant. So meaning if you're including a lot of content in your reviews, in your website, everywhere, let's say you're a sushi restaurant, it's an easy example, and you're including this word everywhere. So when people are searching for, for restaurants, sushi restaurants, organically, they will be able to find you easier. So even if you include a strategy like this in your reviews, you're using certain keywords that you want people to associate you with in your review responses, because there are going to be a lot of them, then you're going to rank higher with time. Okay, so just important to keep in mind. Okay, to make this faster, guys, create templates. You don't have to respond personally to all of them, especially the good ones. If it's a bad one, yes, make it super personal. But the other ones, you can templatize this stuff. You can use, again, a platform like Marquee. You can actually, this with AI now, it's like the responses are automatic. Okay, and especially now that you have reviews on Uber Eats, reviews on DoorDash, man, that's a shit ton of reviews. So you can automate this whole process. So to make it easier, okay, it's templates. Especially use ChatGPT. It'll create templates for you. You can just kind of modify them a little bit, make sure it has the keywords that you want, and that's it. All right. Lastly, guys, but not least, role of PR. Depending on the concept, mixed feelings about this stuff, right? About PR, but listen, they have their place. I think that PR definitely has its place depending on the concept. It can be very beneficial if it's a chef-driven, restaurant, or if it's a concept that makes sense. PR can get you earned media, which is fantastic. It's going to get a lot of people to see you. Okay, this can be pricey, of course, PR. My suggestion or my personal experience, guys, is if you're not a chef-driven restaurant, that you're creating stories or different things all the time, use PR when you first open. The first, I would say 3 to 6 months. Then after that, you don't need it anymore. Yeah. Then focus all your efforts in marketing. If you're opening a new restaurant or a new location, then yes, okay, go back to PR. Or if you're doing a huge event that's like super important, or you're doing a rebranding or whatever it is, then go back to PR. Or if you're remodeling or whatever. But if you're not doing any of those things, like I just wouldn't keep PR on regular basis, because it's pricey. and it's not going to get you the results that you are looking for. Okay, that's my take on that. All right, so brand awareness versus marketing ROI. What's the balance? That's what I was just talking about, guys, because that's a question that we get a lot. Because again, it's not a straight path, but like I said, both need to be there. Brand awareness, brand building, and you do that through all those things that we talked about, and then being cohesive with your messaging, your brand, and your digital presence, that everything makes sense and all your messaging is the same and consistent. And then marketing ROI, yes, we're going to be looking at the tracking, we're going to be looking at the numbers, and that everything also that you're doing is actually bringing in a return. Okay. Now, in terms of reporting, there's so much, guys. I'm not going to get into it. It's just too much. It's going to be overwhelming if I get into all the different details that you can look at, but just look at the basics. Okay. Look at the main things. Look at your social channels. Again, just look at your engagement metrics. See if it's your content being relevant, if people are actually, if you're getting some growth from there, if you're getting shares, you're getting comments, all these things. Look at your paid ads and your on social and on Google. For sure, look at that. Depending on what you're doing, you need to see if it brought in a result. You will see that through reservations, or you can see that through calls. You can see that through, or if you're running ads to an Eventbrite, that is a direct path, and you can see results right then and there. But then also, again, just don't forget to look at the data overall to see what happened on that particular day that you did this. Okay. So again, I'll send you the training later of how to do this properly, but it's important to have it. Okay. There's look at your of course your campaigns. If you're doing a particular event or promotion, look at what happened. Okay, and then look at your ROI, how much you spend on ads, how much you spend on whatever it is that you did, your cost of your promotion, your food, or whatever it is, and then you can do an estimate of what your ROI was. Okay, so anyways, but keep it simple, guys. You can get really granular and build these reports that, I mean, we build these reports that are kind of complex, but you don't need to. Okay. Especially if you don't have the time. Okay. All right, guys. So now takeaways. What did you learn? We're almost at the end, guys, but I'm just going to go into the next section. But anything that anything that came up for you guys, any questions, any comments before we move on and finalize? All right. Let me see here. Okay. Yeah. You guys have some questions here. Hold on. I know we've covered quite a bit of things. Okay. All right. What are any of it training? Okay. Understand, Sean, what's up, buddy? Understanding your target audience is key to starting. Yep, it is super important, man. And again, defining your audience and how you're going to talk to them. Yep. You got to get all your KPIs to understand what's happening, so then you can, come up with these ideas that are going to help you address these things, right? And then set your targets. What are you going to be hitting? Okay, so that's important. Okay, cool, guys. And what is it? Are there any more trainings that you have done that I should watch? Okay, so yeah, we've done a lot of trainings. You guys can go on my YouTube channel, Sebastian Stahl, S-T-A-H-L, B as in boy. You'll find it on YouTube, but there's a bunch of trainings that I've done on Facebook ads. I've done some stuff on Google. We've done some stuff on social media, a lot of different things. So you can check those out there. Okay. All right, cool. So do you recommend a certain budget for a social media campaign? Yeah, well, it really depends on what you are doing. Okay. If you're doing let's say you're just doing a reach campaign, meaning that just brand awareness, and you're just trying to get in front of a lot of people. Again, build the right audience there on your ads manager, and then I would say don't spend more than, I would say $10 to $20 a day. That's enough in a 5 to 10 mile radius. I would keep it to 5. Okay, so and that's even stretching. You can even go from just $10 a day and push the campaign that you should be fine, because it's just going to be it's actually a cheap campaign because it's going to get in front of a lot of people. Now, if you're doing something more like lead generation for, let's say, private events, then that's going to be a little bit more expensive. Okay, because and that is a whole thing in itself. But you know that can run between $10 and $20 a day, and just for that. Yeah. But if it's going to be a specific campaign that has a beginning and an end, like an event. So let's say you're doing something now for New Year's Eve and you're doing a big party. So for that, man, okay, then you're going to have a bigger budget because you're going to be competing against all the people that are doing events for New Year's Eve. Okay, so that I would assign between $500 to $1,000 for that campaign in itself. Okay, that can be between Google and paid social. Okay, that's just a benchmark. Okay, cool. So anyways, executing your plan. Okay, now you have all this stuff that you put together. Now put it in an organized document. But the next thing is once you have all that stuff ready there, all your ideas, you have written down, now you're just going to put it on the calendar because this is going to help you stay accountable and this is going to help you plan. And you're not running around now. Well, let's say now New Year's is coming and you're just putting together something for a New Year's party and you hope that in a week you'll have enough time to promote it. That is not going to fly. It's not going to work. Okay, so don't do that. Make sure that you have this on a calendar so you can plan ahead. And you should be at least 3 weeks out already promoting your event if you're doing an event or anything that you're doing. Do it with enough time. So that's why this calendar is crucial. Make sure your entire operations team knows this calendar, sees this calendar, and every meeting that you're having on a weekly basis, you guys are reviewing this so you know what's coming and you can plan accordingly. Okay, this is always a huge thing between operations and marketing, right? That it needs to make sense. And the communication needs to be there so the execution can happen with enough time so then it can be successful. If you don't plan with time, it's going to suck. You're not going to see results, okay, for any of those things. So anyways, have a calendar. If you guys want a template for a calendar, I'll send it to you guys, this exact template, so you guys can have it and you can use it for your restaurant. Okay, cool. Plan, get ahead. Again, these things. And this is the stuff that I was talking about. Timing for campaigns for optimal results, at least special promotions or events 15 days out. If you start promoting way too soon, you're just going to spend money and not see results. Okay, so if you're starting an event or something that you're selling or that you're pushing to get people in the door, start with, you can still push it out, but slowly with a lower budget. And then after you're getting closer to it, and when I'm talking about paid ads, then you can start pushing it harder. Yes, emails and that stuff you can send out. That's free. You already have the database, so yes, for sure. But 15 days out is usually a sweet spot for events and promotions. 3 weeks out is still fine, but that's kind of like the sweet spot of what we see all the time. Okay, always on ads, just or you're doing just test and optimize, and then of course change creatives, meaning you have to kind of change stuff around, yeah, as you go. All right, so what did it mean to them? This is just an example of one of our clients, guys. What happened with one of their locations that when we implemented it, they needed a plan. We created a plan. We executed the plan. What did that mean to them? For them at that time, 31% sales increase, 19% guest count increase, and 2 times their event leads. Okay, what does that mean to you? Yeah, so it just means here that your restaurant can have a big shift here if you do this properly. Okay, you don't have to go crazy with all the technicalities and those things, but if you do this in a simple way, you can still make a lot of progress and get your restaurant or establishment to the next level. Yeah. Awesome, guys. So that's it for me. I know we did man, that was a long thing. This is like the longest one, but it's a marketing plan, so expected because it's just a lot of stuff to cover. But anyways, guys, hope you guys had a lot of insights and stuff that would help you. If you guys need help, we will definitely do a free restaurant marketing audit. We'll look at your restaurant, or you look at what's going on with your social channels. We'll look at your online presence, and then give you basically a free report for this of what's going on. And then if you decide that you need help, if it's a good fit for you guys, you just let us know. If you want to talk, here you go. You can just scan that QR code. And Samantha, you're welcome. I hope that you get some value from this, that is helpful. I'll send you guys a replay if you missed anything. And again, if you need a link for the other trainings, the YouTube channel, you can check them there. But if you want one specific for something, just let me know. You can scan this code here. Just email me at contact@breathmarketing.com, and you can book an appointment with me also, again, through that QR code. All right. Thank you guys again so much. And stay tuned for the next training. I think it'll be in January. Anyways, not sure what we're going to do it about. Maybe we'll repeat this one. I don't know. All right, guys. Thank you so much.